You're watching Eye on Africa. I'm James Creedon. Here are our headlines this Thursday evening. French-led troops are to pull out of Mali after a decade in the country fighting Islamist insurgents there. The announcement came amid disagreements with the transitional government in Bamako. Regional leaders have expressed concern about the troop pullout, which could also signal further withdrawals of UN and EU missions. We'll bring you more on the fallout of the imminent pullout of French troops from Mali. And that announcement coming as European and African leaders meet in Brussels. We'll take a look at what's on the table at that EU-African Union summit. Thank you for watching. Now, the announcement did not come as a surprise, with relations between Paris and the military junta in Bamako getting worse and worse in recent weeks. France is to pull out all remaining troops from Mali. European allies are set to do the same. Recent coups d'etat in Mali, Chad and Burkina Faso have weakened France's alliances in its former colonies and opened the door to greater Russian influence. Emmanuel Macron said the withdrawal would take 4 to 6 months, during which time there would be fewer operations against jihadists. Let's take a listen to the French president.
All recognize that we cannot take military action with different authorities who are there and have been there for a long time, but with whom we cannot actually agree or see eye to eye from a political point of view. And therefore, France and its partners who are fighting terrorism, all the participating countries in the Takuba force, have decided to withdraw from Mali. This withdrawal means that the Kossi, Menaka and Gao sites will be closed. It will be done in an orderly way with the help of the Malian authorities and the UN representatives in Mali.
Now, earlier I spoke to France 24's Mark Perelman, who is in Brussels for that summit between the EU and African Union. Here's what he had to say about the announcements and what comes next.
After months of escalating tensions between France and Mali, the French President Emmanuel Macron decided to pull the plug today on the French and European military presence in Mali. After 9 years of presence, of fight against jihadists, which he said he did not regret, he refused to accept the notion that this was a failure. However, he said that the equation had changed. The junta was not really fighting terrorism. The junta was cooperating with Russian paramilitaries. The junta had refused the presence of a Danish contingent lately, and he said, as such, the junta is trying to preserve itself, not to fight jihadists. We have no reason to stay. This means that the French president in Mali will be finished within 6 months. However, the French president said that there would be continuity and that the action would continue in the Sahel region. This would primarily concern neighboring Niger. However, this would spread towards the Gulf of Guinea and some countries that have been struck by terrorism, like recently Benin. There would be probably more forces in Senegal, this is further south, but also, as the Ivorian president Alassane Ouattara told me, including in Ivory Coast. So this is a new era. The French are saying this is the full stop with Mali, but we're staying to be more efficient against terrorism in a broader sense.
Mark Perelman speaking a little bit earlier. Now, Mali saw 2 coup d'etat in the space of 9 months. Relations between Paris and Bamako became particularly bad after the ruling junta went back on an agreement to organise an election in February and proposed holding power until 2025. Peter O'Brien and Yinka Oyatade take us through the timeline of key events that have led Emmanuel Macron to consider withdrawing French troops from Mali.
How did it get to this point?
The new situation resulting from the end of Operation Barkhane, which presents Mali with a fait accompli and leaves it abandoned in mid-air, leads us to explore ways and means to better ensure security, either independently or with other partners.
Accusations from Prime Minister Choguel Kokala Maïga that France had abandoned Mali marked a new low point in relations between the two countries. But ties had already started unravelling long before the head of state's speech at the UN last September. Mali's relations with France took a significant turn when it went through 2 coups d'etats in less than a year. The first in 2020 saw Emmanuel Macron's ally Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta disposed, with the second, in May last year, a civilian-led transitional government pushed out. At the start of June, France suspended its joint security operations with Malian forces, and shortly after, Macron announced he would scale down French military presence in the Sahel. There was a military gap to be filled, and in December, France and Western allies condemned Mali for deploying Russian mercenaries, saying it had struck a deal with the Wagner Group. In January, the military junta in Bamako postponed elections that they vowed would be held in February of this year. The ECOWAS bloc hit Mali with heavy sanctions, a move supported by France, the EU and the US. Bamako accused extra-regional powers of being behind the sanctions and organised mass protests. With anti-French sentiment peaking and relations at a new low, the French foreign minister lashed out.
I'd like to say here with great force that this junta is illegitimate and is taking irresponsible measures.
His Malian counterpart responded in equal measure.
France is the only country which is directly attacking the legality and legitimacy of the transitional government.
At the end of January, the French ambassador was given 72 hours to leave. The fallout is affecting other EU countries too. Mali has ordered Danish troops from the European Special Forces mission to Cuba to leave the country.
Now, Mali's reaction to the announcement was to propose continuing bilateral cooperation with European states. But France's withdrawal raises questions about the futures of the 14,000 UN peacekeeping troops also, and the EU's missions in the region. The EU's foreign policy chief said that the bloc needed more guarantees in order to continue operations in Mali. Meanwhile, the president of Ghana spoke out, calling for UN troops not to be withdrawn. Let's take a listen to him.
With all of these outrages taking place in various parts of Africa, is this the time for the Security Council, taking on the thought that has just been thrown out by President Macky Sall? Is it the time for the Security Council to commit itself to winding down peacekeeping operations in Africa? I would have thought that this is the time where the Security Council would rather increase its presence in the search for peace on our continent. And this is not the time. The English expression, penny wise and pound foolish. That cannot be the position of the global community as far as terrorism and stability in Africa are concerned.
That was Nana Akufo-Addo speaking there, the president of Ghana. Ghana, the country holding the rotating presidency of ECOWAS. That's the bloc of nations in West Africa. We can cross now to the capital of Ghana, Accra, and our correspondent there, Nathan Cow. Nathan, we just heard there from the Ghanaian president. He's worried about troop pullouts. He's worried about the security situation in the region. What more can you tell us about reactions in the region to today's announcement? And, you know, what are the fears? Is there a sense that Russia is now really stepping into a breach that France is kind of leaving in Mali and elsewhere?
Well, I mean, you ask about worry, and the sense of worry cuts across a lot of the African countries. I speak to contacts in Mali, in Burkina Faso, even places like Cote d'Ivoire. And the general sense is that, you know, even for those who don't want France to be around, they quickly fall back to the second question that says, what will our leaders do? Are our leaders capable? Are our countries capable? Are our budgets capable of propping the various security agencies to be strong enough to deal with the threats that these jihadists and the insurgents activities pose? So the general sense is of concern. And like I said, even those who seem to be excited quickly realize that there is some work to do. President Macky Sall has already stated that there's a vacuum that will be created. You have Alassane Ouattara saying the same thing. Nana Akufo-Addo saying that the sub-region needs a lot of help at this time. So there is a lot of worry, and you get the sense that countries will now have to double up on what they are doing in terms of their security efforts to keep their countries and the general sub-region very safe.
Okay, Nathan Cow, thank you for that update from Accra. Now, in Brussels on Thursday, 40 African leaders were in town for a summit between the African Union and the EU. Brussels is hoping to reassert its influence on a continent where China and Russia have made hefty investment inroads. The EU is offering several packages of support at the summit to bolster health, education and stability in Africa. And the EU is pledging half of a new €300 billion investment drive launched to rival China's Belt and Road Initiative. Now, another heavy investor in several African countries is the United Arab Emirates. Currently, more than 300 UAE companies operate across the continent. Over $100 billion is invested across a range of sectors: real estate, communications, transport, hotels, and renewable energy. And one renewable power company is Amea Power, with projects in several countries. Let's take a look now at this report about one of their projects in Togo.
The Emirati company AMEA has installed its first solar power plant in Africa, here in Blitter, in the heart of Togo. The electricity network was failing here. For the past 10 months, 5,000 solar panels over some 20 hectares have been tracking the direction of the sun all day via an electronic sensor. A first for solar technology in West Africa.
This technology provides a 10 to 20% production increase.
Nearly 150,000 households benefit from uninterrupted electricity supply during the day. The proximity of the power station and its capacity to provide continuous power was a major factor in the company's setting up. Its owner heads one of the largest gas manufacturing companies, 500,000 cylinders per year for the local market and for export.
As we're sure that there'll be continuous power day and night, then we can produce. There's more than 25% growth rate.
Togo is doubling its efforts to attract investors to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. Investors like AMEA got free land, facilities to connect to the existing electricity network, tax exemptions and the possibility of transferring its profits.
Generating power is being used to try to fill the gap between available supply and demand, but it's not sustainable. That's why we have set up the Ittihad 7 initiative, a program dedicated to securing both public and private sector funding for renewable energy projects in Africa, with the aim of supplying clean energy to 100 million people by 2035.
The United Arab Emirates wants to be an integral part of Africa's future. In 2020, its investment on the continent is estimated at $104 billion, a 30% increase over 10 years. Egypt, Algeria and Morocco are top of the list, followed by sub-Saharan African countries such as Nigeria and Senegal. The Democratic Republic of Congo is also becoming a major partner thanks to the construction launch of a deep water port in Banana 2 weeks ago.
All right, and of course we'll be following developments in Brussels at that African Union EU summit throughout the day tomorrow as well. So do stay tuned to France 24 and Eye on Africa for more updates on that. Thanks for watching this evening. Take care.